Man, Mark Cuban is speaking a little bit about obviously what happened with the sale of the Mavericks, how he fully expected to still run basketball operations, setting quote, I fully expected to run basketball. The NBA wouldn't let me put in the contract. They took it out. I thought they would stick to their word because they didn't know the first thing about running a team. Someone obviously changed their mind. When this whole and again, when we talk about this shit is definitely not a diss to Anthony Davis because he's a first bout Hall of Famer, one of the most talented power forwards we've ever seen. But on the flip side, Luka is a generational talent, and I think I was a firm believer that this decision was above Nico's head. I think Nico was the fall guy, but I definitely think it was ownership and it was Demont and these guys, hearing rumors or maybe the way that Luka had moved and not wanting to commit that kind of money to them, especially after the whole casino shit fell through in Dallas, and then they wanted to try to move the team to Vegas and that fell through. So I think they were in their feelings. And what's kind of really bothered me about this is Demont continues to kind of go on his little tour talking, but continuing to badmouth Luka like Luka ever did anything to his lame ass. So, what are your guys' thoughts when you hear Mark kind of come out? I mean, obviously, Mark has to take some of the blame because he is the one that chose to sell the team to this group, knowing what they were about. But Mark has always been one of my favorite owners, and I was really surprised when I heard that one, that the sale went through, and then two, that Mark was kind of pushed out of any kind of real decision making with that ball club. Keyon, start with you.
It's pretty much normal. Like if you sell a corporation or something like that, sometimes as CEO, right, you might stay on for a year to make that transition or to help, what I mean, just make that transition smooth for the next, ownership group that's coming through. Obviously, he had the pedigree, he had the passion, he had the community, and he was able to get Luka on board, right? And Luka lost out a lot, man. Luka is missing out on that supermax with this trade. So he really financially got hurt. Now he'll benefit from being around LeBron, being in a bigger market, but he might not ever be able to make up that kind of supermax money. So I think Luka loses. I don't like what they're doing in Dallas. I think they need more people around who understand the game. They got to make sure they assemble the right team, and they got to like capture the essence of what Cuban created there. Like he put Dallas on the map. Like he was on the sideline. He was on the bench. He would pick you up when you would come for a draft workout. And so to have somebody who was that involved and that passionate, and then have somebody come in who's like really a bottom line type person and doesn't necessarily understand the culture of the basketball culture, I think, they're going to have a difficult time, retaining talent, getting people to come in if they don't get the right pieces.
I mean, I think they have a win now situation. Obviously, they caught the injury bug, but Dallas has a very talented team as we speak right now. Obviously, AD went down and he's back now, but Kyrie's down for the season. But they have a nice roster. But, we all know as long as we spend the league, winning starts at the top. And I don't give a fuck how good your roster is if your ownership ain't shit. And they've been showing that they ain't shit. And the basketball guys have not favored any decisions they've made of late. So that'll be interesting. JR, what's your take on this?
It's a trickle down effect. You're right. It starts from the top. I'll go right into a personal thing. Like even with Portland, when I was there, we went to the Western Conference Finals. We were the youngest team in the NBA. I think I was the vet at like 26, 27, 28. And they traded away. They traded. Right. They brought in Pippen. They brought in Steve Smith. They got rid of me. They felt like they wanted a vet there. And they got to the same spot we got, Western Conference Finals. They got put up by LA. We got put up by San Antonio. And I just felt like we had a young nucleus. You should have let us rock and should have let us grow for 2-3 years and then figure, we would have figured it out, because San Antonio they were beating us. We were beating San Antonio, LA. It was like us, the Lakers, and San Antonio. We would all beat each other. It was very competitive. We could all beat each other. So you never know what was going to happen. Sticking to the point as far as with the Mavs, same thing. You got Luka, who's a generational talent. So when that happened, I didn't think it was real. But then it was official. They traded him. And not to be funny, but I've never seen the NBA trade away a super mega white star in that capacity. And he's a generational talent. They try to keep,
Facts.
I ain't trying to sound funny. I'm from California, all flavors of my life, white, Mexican, black, Filipino, all of that. I have best friends that are all flavors. But in the NBA, it's predominantly black. So when you get a great white player, they're going to treat him great. They're going to make sure he's in good, standings with the media. They're going to propel him. So someone like Luka, who's never been in trouble, who's never had any problems outside of the game, like, what are they doing? That guy going to give you 30, 35, 40 a night. You know what I mean? Like, what are they doing? And him and Kyrie rocking. So I didn't understand it. Then I started hearing the rumors, the casinos, the promises, and the fallout. So this is all business. This is all people at the top ruining what Mark built, because he was a player's owner. He was an owner that loved players. Players loved to play for him. He changed the whole thought process of the Mavs. He got them all new stuff from the locker room to the stadium. So his energy was great, and he was hyped. He clapped. He was involved on the sideline. So I just never understood what was going on. Then I started to read into it, and he's 27% owner, 25% owner still, and usually
still,
like you were saying previously, usually they transfer over new ownership, have someone run it. This is how it goes. And then once they're comfortable, they let him go, and they still put him on their payroll and he's still minority order. So it seems like you would want him to teach the next people coming in, or keep him for a minute and teach the next people coming in how this goes. But to break up the team because of personal things and get rid of the generational talent in Luka, that set them back to me. Although they are a really good team right now, but Kyrie went down. So sometimes that energy and that karma will get right back at you.
It seems like they dismantled, 20 plus years of what Cuban was able to do and build. Being able to get a championship, but kind of set a foundation and make Dallas a destination for free agents, and him being known as one of the best owners. It kind of reminds me of, I played for the Lakers in the last year Phil Jackson was there, and I remember Phil and Jim Buss didn't get along at all. And this is when the team had went to Jim Buss, and I tell you, the next year we came back, Jim wiped any resemblance of Phil Jackson out of the locker room, the practice facility. Just anything that resembled Phil was gone. And it was just like he was trying to set his own tone, and that definitely didn't work. But this also comes on the heels of, the Celtics being sold for a record $6.1 billion, and their owner, Wick Grossbeck, will remain CEO and govern through the 2028 season.
Yeah.
Could have been a similar situation, but not, because, Dumont, this Dallas ownership wanted to take control right off the bat, not knowing shit about the game. But I think this transition we're seeing in Boston is how it should be done. And in the same way KD just spoke, normally they keep you on for a couple years and you show them the way, the lay of the land and the ropes. And then as soon as they get, you make a decision after that. So, hopefully, for the players' sake, Dallas can get back on track. This sale for Boston, I don't think Boston will skip a beat, because everything kind of staying in place. So we shall see.